Hey guys, if you caught Monday's video, you saw that I did a whole video on how to get a flawless base with foundation, concealer, and powder. And today is the continuation of that tutorial, and I'm gonna walk you through how I get a flawless bronzer application, especially for fair skin. So this is the finished look, same one as in the last video, but this video I'm going to show you exactly how I apply my bronzer to get a really flawless bronzed finish, and how I make sure that it doesn't go overboard on fair skin and that I don't look too orange. So if you want to see how I do that and the special tool that I use to get this look, then please keep on watching. My tips for bronzing on fair skin are very simple. You really need one tool that I think is going to change the game, and that is a duo fiber brush. This is the Real Techniques duo fiber face brush, and this is a great option. This is drugstore. I think this is perfect. Basically, you just want to get kind of a large, medium to large size like this one, and duo fiber. That's super important. I would recommend this specific one just because of the shape makes it easier to get it right onto your cheekbones where you want it. And the duo fiber just ensures that you don't apply too much bronzer at once. So when you have fair skin, I think people have a tendency to either be scared of bronzer because they think it's going to be too dark, or just apply it anyway with a regular dense fibered brush, and it can just look like too much and you look like you have a bruise on your cheek, you just look muddy, and it's just a hot mess. So with the duo fiber, it ensures that you just get kind of a lighter dusting of the product and it doesn't get overboard too quickly. So the other thing I want to say is I'm going to be using the Becca Capri Coast Sunlit Bronzer, and this is a great color. This range I think has 5 or 6 shades in it, so there's one for every skin tone. There's even one that's lighter than this if you're even more fair than I am. But you don't want to choose something too light, because something too light will just mean that you're just going to have to layer on tons of product to really get the bronzed look. And also, if you're fair, don't be scared to use more universal toned bronzers. Sometimes they can look a little orange, and sometimes they are, so you kind of have to be careful if they're too dark. But a lot of bronzers like Benefit Hoola or the Too Faced chocolate bronzer, anything like that, I don't think you necessarily have to downgrade to the lighter shade of that, like Hoola Light, or it's the Milk Chocolate, I think, by Too Faced. Don't be scared of regular bronzers. I tend to use just general universal tone bronzers, and when you apply it with a duo fiber brush, it just really makes it work for your skin tone. If you try to pack it on too densely, of course it's going to be too much. So that's my number one tip, is to have the duo fiber face brush. Next tip is about where to apply the bronzer. So the easiest way to do it is to just apply it where the sun would naturally hit your face. So all the high points, which would be the top of the forehead, top of the nose, top of the cheeks, and basically anywhere that's kind of a high point where you would naturally tan in the sun. But if that's a little kind of more difficult to figure out for you, then the simplest rule is to do it on a three shape on each side of your face. So you start here on your forehead, go onto the cheek, and then down onto the jaw. So that kind of forms a 3, and then do the same thing on the other side, and that is where to apply it. So that's how you want to apply it if you want to get the natural sun-kissed look, you know, having it on the tops of your cheekbones. Maybe in the summer you really want to bronze up and look just really glowy. But for me, I like to use my bronzer a little bit more as a contour and bronzer in one. So I apply it ever so slightly lower, just on my cheekbones and just slightly in my cheekbones. Not too low like a dramatic contour, but kind of just at the cheekbone, at the underneath of the cheekbone and on the cheek a little bit. So to find that, I just do the classic easy thing of sucking in. And then by doing that, you can kind of find where that line is. And since I do this every day, I kind of know exactly where to apply the product, and I'm not scared to kind of do it freehand. But if you're a little worried, definitely suck in. And where that line is, you want to go just above that. And another important thing to remember is don't go too low to start. Always start higher, because if anything, you're just going to look like you have a bronzy blush on. But if you go too low, it's going to start to look like you have a beard. So kind of try to leave a little bit of empty space here, because if you get the bronzer too low, it's just going to turn into a hot mess and kind of a beard shadowed look on your face. So enough talking. Those are kind of my main tips. The only other thing I'll say is definitely start off small. Don't load the brush and try to pack on tons of product, because like my mom always says, same thing in baking or cooking, you can always add more later, but you can't take it out once you add it on. So you can always kind of add on more product, but you can't take it away once you put it on. So I'm going to just grab some of this product on my brush, tap off any excess so that there's not too much, And then I'm also gonna press down where I want the most product. So I'm not gonna start here because I don't want tons of bronzer on my cheek. That's where my blush is gonna go. I'm gonna touch the brush down towards the back, which is where I want the most bronzing product, and then kind of swirl it forward. And by using kind of a circular motion like this, it kind of diffuses it out and makes sure it doesn't get too dark. And then I'm going to take it up onto the forehead here. So this is kind of that 3 shape you can see start to forming. And the other thing is you really need to make sure you blend it in, especially when you have fair skin, because that means the skin underneath your hair is going to be even lighter, and then you don't want to see that white line of skin and then bronze. You want it to really look seamless. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just starting in at that cheekbone area in the back and kind of blending it in circular motions forward. And then taking another bit of product and going up the hairline onto the forehead. And if you have a much smaller forehead, I have a huge forehead, so I'm definitely going to bronze up here at the top. But if you have a smaller one, just skip this and you can kind of just take it from the temples down onto the cheeks. But if you have a larger forehead like I do, definitely bronze the top. It's going to look more flattering. And then like I said, there's just hardly any product on this. I'm just continuing to blend it on and on. And if I feel like I want more, I can grab a little bit more, but I don't want to overdo it. And if you're doing a natural sun-kissed look, like I said, you can kind of go on the tops of the cheeks and then onto the jawline. But for me, I'm doing a little bit more of a contoured look. So with the rest of my product, instead of going onto the jawline, I'm just going to go under it like so. And this will kind of define your jawline and also kind of help bronze up your neck to make the bronzing glow a little more natural, like your whole body's tan, not just like your face is tan. Because the whole point of bronzer is to look naturally sun-kissed, not, you know, like you have bronzer or contour striped on your face. Okay, and I'm pretty happy with how it looks on my cheeks. I don't want to go too overboard right now. It is kind of winter time, so I don't want to look like uber bronze. If it was the summer, I'd probably keep packing more on. But I do want to add just a little bit more to the forehead, just to make sure that, that it matches the amount that I have on my cheeks. So this whole time as I was applying it on my cheeks, I was kind of holding the brush this way, and now I'm going to switch to the thicker way and kind of sweep up that way so that I know that it's diffusing onto my whole cheek and not just going to be a, you know, thin stripe. And now that the bronzer is mostly all over the face, the only place that I didn't bronze yet is the nose. And if you're a little more on the tan side, then I would definitely say just grab a little bronzer and take it down the tip of your nose. But if you're super fair like I am, then I don't really find that that looks the most flattering on me. To me, bronzing down the sides of my nose and kind of contouring is the most flattering. So I'm going to take my NARS Ita brush to do this, but you can also take, you can also take whatever brush that you were using and kind of pinch the fibers together, pick up a little bronzer, and get the same effect as a brush that's shaped like this if you don't have one. But I'm just going to dab this like barely any on here and just run it down the sides of my nose. And this just kind of ensures that your nose is a little bit more prominent on your face, because when you're super fair, it can kind of disappear into your face. And then I'm just going to take a little more and go underneath to kind of define it. And especially in flash photography, if you have the super perfected base like we have, and it's all kind of nice and even, when it flashes, there's just no shadow on your nose when you're this fair anyway. Or I find that happens to me all the time. So this really just creates a shadow, so it makes your features just a little more defined. And I'm not really like unhappy with the shape of my nose. I'm not contouring it to change the shape. I'm just contouring it to kind of define it a little more and ensure that it shows up and that it's just as bronzed as the rest of my face. So that's it for the bronzed look all over the skin. I'm really happy with it. I really love this Becca Capri Coast Sunlit Bronzer. I think for fair skin, it's nice to use something like this that has a little bit of shimmer in it, because if it's a super matte bronzer, it's just a little harder to buff out and make look natural. But when it's just a little bit more sheeny like this, it kind of just blends into the skin and gives you like a glowy effect. and that glowy effect helps you look more naturally bronzed instead of just like a stripe of, you know, matte dark color on your cheek. So I think definitely look for a shimmery shadow, or a shimmery bronzer I mean, and use a duo fiber brush and you will be good to go for bronzing. If you accidentally do go too overboard or bring the bronzer in too far towards your mouth or down too low and it starts to look like a beard, I just always go back in with my powder brush and kind of, you can blend those edges to kind of cover it up. So just be careful because you don't want to be caking on too much, and once you get too much, don't put any more on. Just try to blend it out with your powder brush and then just leave it be, because you do not want to end up with like a muddy stripe on your cheek, because it's super embarrassing when someone asks, "Oh, are you okay? It looks like there's a bruise." Trust me from personal experience. So now in the next clip, you're going to see me with the rest of my makeup finished so that you can see how the completed look is with the bronzer, blush, and highlight, and the full finished look. After the bronzer and the rest of the makeup was applied, this was how everything looks. I have my blush and highlight added, and I love how this look came out. This is just the most flawless, perfect makeup look in my opinion, and I know this is going to last throughout the day. I have dinner plans later, and I know it's going to look great throughout dinner, so I'm really happy with how this came out, and I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my tips for not looking too orange or like an Oompa Loompa, especially when you have fair skin. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. I upload every Monday and Thursday, and like this video if you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching.